Good morning, everyone. If all the honored officials that are sitting on the stage would please come to be seated. It's 10 o'clock and we want to get started with our celebration.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am Chris Whelan, the principal of Eufaula Middle School. We want to thank everyone for coming out today. If you can stand, please stand for the posting of the colors by the Choctaw Nation Color Guard. Remain standing. The national anthem will be played by the Eufaula High School Marching Band. Thank you. You may be seated.
Good morning. My name is Charles Crumpler. Before giving the invocation for today's ceremony, I've been asked to say a few words about my dad, G.R. Dick Crumpler. Dad was very instrumental in the planning, construction, eventual dedication of the Eufaula project. In 1957, he became the president of the Lake Eufaula Development Association and held that office for 3 years. During that time, he coordinated the efforts of several other like-minded national organizations to join with the LEDA to accelerate the construction of this project. He later was appointed secretary of the Eufaula Dam dedication ceremony and worked diligently to help it become the success that it was and that we celebrate 50 years later. He left quite a written legacy which is on display here today. It personifies the efforts of so many people, from our political leaders at the national, state, and local levels, as well as the individual effort that was made by so many so that this project would be a success. Dad was a community-minded individual who always wanted the best for Oklahoma and was willing to serve in any capacity to achieve this goal. He was by no means the only one that felt this way and thrived on working with others through the political process to achieve it. It is a great honor for me to be able to share this with you and also to give the same invocation that was given by Reverend Harold Byard 50 years ago. Let us pray. Almighty God, thrilled by the beauty of our surroundings and by all the implications of this hour, we invoke thy presence, for we would remember the trumpet call of the psalmist who said, "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord." We are thankful that in the building of this structure, thou hast allowed us to share in the magnificent continuity of the creative purposes. We invoke thy divine wisdom that with a due sense of our stewardship and the vastness of our natural resources, we may use what we have built wisely and well. We invoke the divine blessings and guidance upon the President of these United States, upon the governor of our beloved Oklahoma, state of the first Americans, and upon those who now or in the future may represent us in the halls of government, that we may be one nation under God. And we invoke the inspiration of thy Holy Spirit upon us all, that we may serve our country and our God with such vision and such dedication that the kingdoms of this world may become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ. Amen.
Good morning. I'm Connie Morris. I'm the director of the Lake Eufaula Association, and we are very honored to have so many dignitaries here on the stage with us today. And so I would like to welcome them and let you know who they are. From the left to right, on the front row, we have Oklahoma Secretary of Energy and Environment, Michael Teague. U.S. Congressman Mark Wayne Mullen, former U.S. Congressman and our keynote speaker, J.C. Watts, Major General Glenn Moore, Brigadier General David Hill, Colonel Richard Pratt, State Representative Ed Kennedy, former Attorney General Drew Edmondson, Mr. Charles Crumpler. On the back row, we have several U.S. Army Corps of Engineer officials, Major Daniel Young, Earl Groves, John Roberts, Jeff Knack, Dean Roberts. Then we have Mr. Chris Whelan, principal of Eufaula Middle School. Eufaula Middle School students, Jace Pippinger and Cheyenne Fells, and Captain Edwin Jimenez with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And then Mr. Brian Vest is in charge of our sound today. I would also like for all the state legislators, tribal leaders, state, county, and local officials, as well as any other Corps officials that are here, to please stand. Thank you for being here with us today. Also, anyone that was here September 25th, 1964, will you please stand and be recognized? We are truly honored that you have come to be with us for this 50th annual celebration. There's a dry eraser board in my office that I look at every day. And in July of 2013, I wrote on it, 2014, 50th anniversary of Lake Eufaula. And today, more than a year later, I wrote it in July 2013. We are here, and we are having a celebration. Lake Eufaula Association does an annual visitor's guide to market and promote the lake, and our first plan was to focus on that and how we could celebrate the 50th anniversary in that guide. Then we heard about the Eufaula Middle School project, and we met with Mr. Whelan. We started planning, and he shared information that they had gathered, and we shared information with him. And one day, Mr. Whelan looked at me and said, "We can't do this by ourselves." That's when this event really got off the ground, with communities and organizations from the entire lake area getting involved. Many meetings followed as more groups joined our efforts, like Shakota, Stigler, and Eufaula Chamber of Commerce, Team Up to Clean Up, Save Our Water, and State Rep Ed Kennedy. Also, the Lake Eufaula Project Office, including Project Operations Manager Jeff Knack, Lake Manager Dean Roberts, and Park Ranger Rick Smither, volunteered their resources and efforts to assist us. Our final planning determined that the celebration would center around 3 events: an actual celebration ceremony honoring the 50th anniversary to the day, which is today, placing a permanent marker at the site that tells the history of President Lyndon Baines Johnson's dedication and visit to Eufaula Dam on September 25, 1964, creating a wildflower meadow and petitioning the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to change the name of Dam Site South to Lady Bird Landing to honor Mrs. Johnson's attendance of the ceremony and her beautification initiative of our great nation. This collaborative community effort brought all the elements of this celebration together. On behalf of the Lake Eufaula Association and the Eufaula Middle School, we want to thank everyone that made the events of this day possible. And now I would like to introduce the Honorable Mark Wayne Mullen, U.S. Congressman.
Thank you so much for being here. Could I ask all of our veterans to please stand for me? All the veterans that are here, please stand. You can be seated. I want to tell, the reason why I wanted you to stand is because I want to tell you thank you. It's for what you've done is the reason why we're even here to gather today. Why we're being able to gather here today. It's because of sacrifices you made for me, these young kids, people you didn't even know. It's the vision you had for our country, and it's the direction that you was willing to serve to make sure the country was going. I want to tell you how much I appreciate you and the service that you had for us. All the Vietnam veterans, welcome home. Thank you. You know, 50 years ago, we was dedicating this dam and had a vision for what it was going to do for the community, the safety it was going to provide, and even maybe the attraction, the tourism that it's going to be able to bring to this area. No one, I think, actually had the vision of the impact it was going to have, the stability it was going to bring to the communities. See, the generations in front of us, they had a vision for this country. They had a direction that they were wanting to go, and they had an idea still yet of the growth that this country had to come by to make us the greatest country and the greatest nation in the world. They had a vision and they accomplished it. It's up to us. It's up to our generation now to pick up that torch and carry on. We've used it. And now what are we going to leave for the generation coming behind us? It's a heavy burden, if you want to think, to carry, because we have huge footsteps to follow. But since they laid such a wonderful groundwork in front of us, it shouldn't be that heavy of a lift. If we all come together and work together, we have to drop so much of the bickering that happens with politics and accomplish the big picture. We have to have the end result in mind. We can accomplish anything when we put our mind to it, if we're willing to set some differences aside. The generation behind us did that. The veterans that served, they've done that. Now what is it we're going to do with the foundation they laid for us? Because we got to build upon it. You're going to hear from great speakers today, and we're going to have a great celebration. And I'm so privileged to be part of it, because what was done here was accomplished even before I was born, but they had me in mind. Thank you so much for being here. May God bless you, and may God bless this country.
Thank you, Congressman Moss. I want to try to talk today. My voice kind of left me yesterday, but I've got a few things I wanted to say. Again, I am Chris Wheeler from Eufaula Middle School. And for the past year, we've been working on a living history project that dealt with the dedication and the preservation of the Lake Eufaula Dam. And there's some folks I want to introduce today to you that were part of that. And I don't have all your names because some came and some didn't. But if you were part of our interviews that we've done over the last year, would you please stand for us now? I have three special people that have really worked extremely hard this whole year to make this thing happen, and they have everything I've asked for and everything that we've tried to accomplish is because of them. And it's Debbie Jones and Tawny Venable and Jan Pipkins. If you three are three teachers. They're history teachers at our school, and they've done a tremendous job. And if you get a chance today, we have put together a collage of items, of some of the artifacts. We had over 500 artifacts that we've collected, mainly through film, through photos, film, and other documents. And some of the stuff on the display today is priceless. And we are so grateful to everyone that brought this to us, and just had a tremendous time doing it as well. We're still working on a documentary that we plan to put together and try to have together sometime, hopefully before 2014 as well. We've also we're going to be burying a Times capsule by the monument in the early part of 2015, and we would encourage you that if you'd like to be part of that, to make contact with us. We'll try to help you do that as well. When we initially started this project, our goal was to keep this at the school level, but we found out real quickly that when word spread that this small middle school project was going to be very significant. To understand the complexity of this event, we must look back at the events that led up to that day. The Lake Eufaula Dam was orchestrated through a piece of legislation known as the 1946 Rivers and Harbors Act. In that legislation, the Arkansas River Basin was earmarked for navigable development, and within that, the creation of a dam on the Canadian River. Due to the financial burdens that left our country after World War II, there was not much financial support for this legislation until the early 1950s. Then in 1952, Dwight D. Eisenhower was elected the President of the United States, and he placed the emphasis on infrastructure for the United States. Around this same time, two major factions that would ultimately determine the future of this great lake came together. Locally, a group of citizens formed an association known as the Eufaula Lake Development Association. This organization was formed from leaders, landowners, citizens, and business owners from all over the area. Their goal was to work with state and federal leaders to ensure that the Lake Eufaula project moved forward and to try to bring understanding of what the benefits of such a vast project would mean to the future of this area. In July of 1955, this group elected as its president a humble theater owner from Chicago, G.R. Dick Crumpler, who you met his son earlier today, and a vice president of from Eufaula, a dry cleaner owner, and a local photographer by the name of Dean Parkhurst. And both of these men knew what this project meant, not only for them, but for our communities. At the same time, Oklahoma held the strongest delegation of legislators in its history in Washington, D.C. Carl Albert, the little giant from Little Dixie, sat in the United States House of Representatives as the majority whip, and debatably at the time the strongest figure in the U.S. Senate was a former governor of the great state of Oklahoma, Robert S. Kerr. And then in 1953, a political leader burst onto the scene for Oklahoma as a freshman United States representative for the 2nd District by the name of Ed Edmondson. Mr. Edmondson from Muskogee could see the huge economic potential that this project could have on the people of the 2nd District. And it didn't take long for Dick Crumpler and Mr. Edmondson to form a powerful bond. On May 21st, 1956, with the urging of Representative Edmondson, the first appropriations were funded for the Eufaula Dam in the amount of $300,000. By the end of July of 1956, 3 additional appropriations had occurred for $1.2 million. And then on August the 4th, 1956, the first shovel of dirt was turned for this project at where our project office is today. This is just a short overview of what took place in the efforts to make this lake a reality. It was a mixture of grassroots from the bottom and powerful elected officials from the top. It was the ground-pounding hard work of countless hours of men like Dick Crumpler and Dean Parkhurst. And it was the love of Eastern Oklahoma and the vision of its leaders like Ed Edmondson, Carl Albert, and Robert S. Kerr to help connect our state to the world economically. Students, I've told my students several times this. We've made several trips out here in the last year. But all of you, especially the younger students, want you to think about this. This incredible lake that we have here, that incredible dam that we have up to my right here, it was created by men that never saw a pocket calculator. More or less an iPhone. Without a question, it was created by the greatest generation in the history of the United States. Without a question. It was created with equipment that we would use on normal farms now. It was created with blood, sweat, tears, and their minds. Is what it was created with. And we owe those a great dedication. We owe those folks an enormous amount. As the completion of the project neared and a celebration was planned under the coordination of the Corps and the Eufaula Lake Development Association, it was agreed upon that a celebration would take place September 25th, 1964, at this very location. Friday, September 25th, 1964. It was a day extremely like today. Beautiful skies, lows in the mid 70s. A crowd of 30,000 gathered where we are today. There's around 1,200 people here today. Multiply it that times nearly 30, and you can imagine. Some of the folks we have talked to during the interviews, there's that the parking, they would start, if you came up Highway 71 from Enterprise, that the parking was on both sides of the highway, too deep from Enterprise all the way to the dam, to the entrance. There was farmers on tractors with little hay trailers giving people shuttle rides back and forth to the dam. We all gathered to hear Lyndon Baines Johnson, our 36th president, along with over 30 other state and national dignitaries, speak that day. President Johnson's speech was 22 minutes long, and it spoke about the bipartisanship that it took to make a project like this happen, and our nation's vision of the next 30 years that centered around our need for water. And I told our kids this many times as well. We had a group of folks in our nation's capital at that time that was not looking at the next 15 minutes. They were looking at the next 30 years. And we're lucky that we had that happen today. And I hope that our leaders and our legislators today will look to the next 30 years for us as well. 50 years has come and gone since that day. And as the proverbial saying goes, a lot of water's flowed under that dam. But I think we can all say that hard work, vision, and determination of those men who came before us not only left the dam, but left us a legacy to follow. And I want to leave you with these comments today from Dick Crumpler. We found these comments etched on a piece of letterhead that he had wrote in 1956. And it sums up all the efforts and intentions of all those involved in making this great project a reality. And I believe that it also serves us still today. And I quote, "It's our responsibility to help as many as much as we can and to hurt the few as little as possible." Thank you. To make a presentation or commendation from the Oklahoma Governor for Mary Fallon, I would like to introduce the Secretary of State and Secretary of Energy and Environment, Michael Teague.
Somebody just made the comment that I look different out of uniform. We've heard already about the vision and the hard work it took to build this fantastic treasure of a lake that we've got. But that perseverance and that vision have not gone away, and it still continues. And it is the combination of federal agencies, state agencies, local advocates, and the people that live here and take advantage of this lake all working together. Whether it's building it or updating a shoreline management plan, you have to work together. So I might be a little biased, but I don't think there's a better example of federal, state, local working together than the civil work projects of the Army Corps of Engineers. So I do have the privilege today on behalf of the Governor to present this commendation to General Hill. Sir, Governor's commendation is hereby presented to Lake Eufaula Dam 50th anniversary, September 25, 2014, in recognition of the celebration on the September 25th that marks the date 50 years ago that President Lyndon B. Johnson traveled to Oklahoma to dedicate the Lake Eufaula Dam, which created Oklahoma's largest capacity lake. The dam was constructed under the supervision of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers from 1956 to 1964. Best wishes as we celebrate one of the world's largest man-made lakes, which serves to provide flood control, water supply, navigation, hydroelectric power, and recreation. Signed, Mary Fallon, Governor of Oklahoma, July 18, 2014.
Well, thank you, Secretary Teague. Chief Tiger, Dr. Colbert, Congressman Allen, Congressman Watts, Secretary Teague, and all of our guests here today. It's an extraordinary honor to accept this certificate on behalf of the Army Corps of Engineers from the state of Oklahoma, marking the 50th anniversary of the Lake Eufaula Dam. The words of the certificate highlight the importance of this lake and the dam to the people of this region: flood control, water supply, navigation, hydropower, generation, and recreation. And these are missions that define the Army Corps of Engineers all at this one spot in Oklahoma. Equally important, as Secretary Teague mentioned, this certificate recognizes the benefits of close partnerships and the winning results when government at all levels work together to take care of the common good and get the people's business done. That kind of partnership amongst state, regional, and national leaders was the impetus to bring this great lake and dam to completion. We heard a bit about President Johnson's dedication remarks in 1964. In those remarks, he alluded to a not too distant past for Oklahoma, one that the entire world knows from literature and entertainment. The days of the Dust Bowl brought about devastating cycles of flood and drought and ruined crops and devastated lives of that era. He talked of the work that he and other regional and national leaders were doing to change the dynamics of this region, culminating in such projects as the construction of one of the world's largest man-made lakes and the dam that enables flood control. 50 years ago, the President recognized that the Eufaula Dam was a key part of the development of the Arkansas River, bringing relief from floods at long last, as well as the hydropower to provide electricity, lighting the homes and hopes of the people. Today, as we mark this significant half-century anniversary, Lake Eufaula has 2 state parks, 7 marinas, 10 campgrounds, and more than 800 miles of shoreline. It hosts about 2.5 million visitors annually, brings in more than $50 million in spending. The power generated is worth more than $5.5 million, and the water supply is estimated at more than 3 billion gallons. In sharp contrast to the devastating floods of the past, Eufaula has prevented more than $8 million per year in recent years in flood damages, and more than an estimated $500 million in flood damages prevented since it was constructed. Thanks to the vision and hard work of those who came before us, visitors and native Oklahomans alike today find an area of abundant water and greenery, a real contrast to the Dust Bowl days and the decade that followed. And those of us with the Army Corps of Engineers are so proud to have played a role in bringing this great development to the state of Oklahoma, and we join in celebrating you in this 50th anniversary. Thank you again.
We now have a special music presentation from the Shakota High School. Miss Carolyn Hutcherson is the director.
While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America. This is the land I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my United we stand. United we stand. United we stand. America. 'Tis our gift to be simple. 'Tis our gift to be free. 'Tis our gift to be simple. 'Tis our gift to be free. To be free. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the Pilgrim's bride, from every mountainside let freedom ring. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth is marching on. United we stand. United we stand. United we stand. America.
I am Ed Kennedy, District 15 State Representative, and I want to wish all of you a very welcome and wonderful welcome. And this is such a beautiful setting. I'm thinking how blessed I am to represent this area, and it is truly a blessing. This morning I have the special honor of introducing our keynote speaker. Former Congressman J.C. Watts is well known for his football prowess of Eufaula Ironheads and the OU Sooner quarterback who led his team to 2 consecutive Big 8 victories, championships, and 2 Orange Bowl victories. Mr. Watts was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, where he served as chairman of the Republican Conference, the 4th highest ranking leadership position in the majority party in the U.S. House of Representatives. Mr. Watts, we're so honored that you would join us today and be our keynote speaker for this special event. But Mr. Watts, if I could, I have a special presentation that was given to me this morning by the wife of the late Sam Johnson, who worked with you at the Corps of Engineers and has special memories connected to this tie clip. But Mr. Watts, if you would receive this on behalf of the Johnson family, and thank you so much for being with us.
Representative Kennedy, thank you. And Linda Johnson, I see Linda, Sam's wife, in the audience, and Linda and family, thank you. Thank you very much. I am Connie Morris, called me, I guess about three months ago, and said that they were putting this together, and asked me did I believe in free speech. I said, you bet I do. She said, would you come and give us one? So here I am. I was reminded of why I have gray hairs. When I got here, one of the first things that happened, I had two 7th graders in Eufaula Public Schools. One was a granddaughter of a classmate of mine. They graduated in 1976. And the other one was the granddaughter of a young lady whose dad was the voice of the Eufaula Ironhead football team for many, many years. And so they reminded me that time moves on, and it was so special to see and witness the people that was here, the people that were here in 1964, this day in 1964. And you know, since that Mr. Wheeler mentioned the things that, well, back when this dedication happened, that we did not have iPhones, neither did we have Google. We had dictionaries. We still had party lines in the state of Oklahoma and here in Eufaula, and most of the students who are here today, or probably all of the students here who are here today, or anyone that's 35 years or younger, you probably don't remember party lines. As I travel around the country and talk about party lines, and especially when I'm on college campuses, most students look at me like I've got a fish head when I talk about party lines. But I do remember party lines, and so many things have evolved and have happened since this lake was created. And I was telling Congressman Mullen, I was sitting there, and of course Ed Edmonds' son Drew is here today, and Senator Kerr. I was telling Congressman Mullen, I said, you know, for those of us from Eufaula, I guess, I don't know how it happened. Maybe it was a coin toss, or maybe, you know, picking the long straw, the longest straw wins. But, you know, we could be here today talking about Lake Stigler or Lake Shakota or Lake Muskogee or Lake McAllister, but we're here talking about Lake Eufaula, and I am quite proud that we all are here gathered for this this momentous occasion to commemorate a 50-year anniversary. And my staff, I don't know, I found this in my reading file about 2 weeks ago as I was kind of looking out over my schedule over the next 2 weeks. I saw this in my reading file, and I don't know if Connie sent this to me or if my staff researched this and found this, but I saw this in my reading file, and I thought it was interesting, and I want to share it with you. It says, on this site, September 25th, 1964, Lyndon Baines Johnson, the 36th President of the United States, a large delegation of national and state leaders, and an estimated crowd of 30,000 gathered to dedicate the completion of the Eufaula Lake Dam. The underlying theme of President Johnson's speech was the national vision and bipartisanship needed to strengthen America via the development of our vast rivers and waterways. The creation of the Eufaula Dam was critical not only to our nation's efforts to capitalize on those rivers and waterways, but also to combat the devastating flooding that had plagued this region since occupation. The Eufaula Dam was a key component in the completion of the Arkansas navigational system, which was the vision of the great Oklahoma statesman Robert S. Kerr. Eufaula Dam was commissioned by Congress through the 1946 Rivers and Harbors Act. The Tulsa District United States Army Corps of Engineers oversaw the construction of the dam at a cost of $121,262,000. Construction of Eufaula Lake Dam began in the fall of 1956, and the gates were closed in February 1964. As I said earlier, since this lake was created, we have seen many things unfold. We've seen Carrie Underwood from Shakota, who is a national star on the country and western in that genre of music. As I said, we've gone from dictionaries to Googles, and we have iPhones, and we can access the world at our fingertips. This lake has meant so much to this community in terms of economic development, jobs, recreation. It's been a part of our navigational system. It's been a resource for not just this community but our state, and it has touched millions, as was said earlier, around the United States. As I travel around the country and many states and many college campuses speaking, just in the last 2 weeks alone, just in the last 10 days, I've been reminded of the value of what we have here in this community, this asset called Lake Eufaula. Obviously, when I'm traveling around the world and people invite me in to speak and share my thoughts and my ideas and my comments and my opinions on current affairs and the future of our country, they obviously know that my bio will say that I am from Eufaula, Oklahoma. And just in the last 10 days, I've been in two places. Yesterday, about 10 days ago, a week ago Sunday actually, I was in a little community called Burnett, Texas. Population about 6,000. And before I spoke, the pastor introduced me, and he said that I was from Eufaula. And he said, "How many of you know where Eufaula is?" And he was shocked at the hands that went up. And before I gave my sermon, I asked the folks, I said, "I want to see a show of hands." And I said, "Most of you folks that raise your hands that you know where Eufaula is, you're probably fishermen." And 90% of them they were, because they had been to Lake Eufaula fishing for the recreation, and that was in Texas. And yesterday morning I left Spokane. I almost said Spokane, but they reminded me that it's pronounced Spokane. I left Spokane, Washington, which is on the other side of the state of Oklahoma. And when I was signing my books, I had a book signing ceremony. They asked me to do a book signing ceremony afterwards. And a young lady came up to me and she said, because I talked about being from Eufaula, Oklahoma, and you know, most folks you would think in Spokane, Washington would have no clue where Eufaula, Oklahoma was. But a lady came up to me afterwards and asked me to sign her book, and she said, "I'm from Earlsboro, Oklahoma," and she said, my sister married a fella from Eufaula, Oklahoma. So obviously someone that travels as much as I do, Lake Eufaula gives me a great conversation piece when I'm in airports and when I'm on different churches around the country or on different current affairs panels that I speak on around the country. So I am grateful. Now, when the lake was created, when I was a teenager in junior high, I actually thought Lake Eufaula was just a great swimming pool. We would walk around in our shorts in the summer months, as hot as it would be, and I admitted to one of the gentlemen with the Corps Engineers this morning that, and I must admit, we violated the rules a little bit because you were not supposed to swim in the boat docks, but we did. And I thought Eufaula was the greatest swimming pool in the world. I had access to that. And so Lake Eufaula is more to me than a lake. And Linda Johnson, her husband, when I was going during the summer of my sophomore in junior season. I'll never forget a gentleman by the name, he was a superintendent of the Corps here in the area. And I don't remember his first name, but I will never forget him. His last name was Carroll. And he wore a handlebar mustache. And I was out mowing our lawn there on the east side of the railroad tracks in Eufaula, Oklahoma, and Mr. Carroll came and he pulled up in front of my house. I had no clue who he was, obviously, but I suspected he was with the Corps Engineers because he had the emblem on the side of his car, and he got out. And I'll never forget, he took his baseball cap off and he put his cowboy hat on when he walked into my yard to visit with me. Well, I turned the motor of the lawnmower off, and Mr. Carroll proceeded to say to me, tell me who he was and why he was there. And he said, I want to hire 2 kids for summer jobs this summer. He said, do you know 2? Well, I quickly figured this thing out and applied my Eufaula, Oklahoma logic. And I said, I mow the lawn here where I live. I clean my room. I take out the trash. I chop the potatoes. I pick the okra. I pick the cucumbers. I pick the tomatoes. I get room and board, but no spending money. It was easy to figure out I'm one. I went and found another buddy of mine and said, hey, a guy came and offered 2 jobs. I said, I'll take one, you take the other. We worked at the Corps Engineers and worked here, and I got to know this area pretty well. I worked over the powerhouse. They put me in the powerhouse. And that's where I got to work with Sam Johnson, who was about as fine a guy as you'd ever meet. A fellow by the name of LD, I don't remember LD's last name, and a fellow by the name of Doug Smitherman out of McAllister. We all worked together there at the powerhouse. There was about 8 or 9 of us that made up the staff that I'd go around every day taking the readings on different meters and cleaning. And I thought, man, this is great. I get a $1.65 an hour to do this, and Daddy was only paying room and board. This is about as good as it gets. And little did he know, and little did I know, when Mr. Carroll got out of his car and came over and introduced himself and offered me a summer job, that he would be offering a summer job to a future congressman. We not only have, again, offered up Carrie Underwood to the nation and offered up Lake Eufaula, but Mr. Carroll gave a young man an opportunity to make spending money and have gas money and to empower him by having a good job that set him on a course, young people, to someday be able to contribute and talk about Lake Eufaula and talk about this area and talk about the state of Oklahoma on a national scale. And I continue to have the opportunity to do that. I'm awfully proud of Eufaula and this community and all that it represents. And I think Mark Wayne Mullen, Congressman Mullen, reminded us that when the men and women who made this all possible, the state leaders and the national leaders, they were not just thinking about the moment, they were thinking about our future. And I think that's the challenge for all of us, that is and I think we all have, in a sense, what Franklin Delano Roosevelt called a rendezvous with destiny. That we all have an obligation to contribute to sustaining the greatness, not just of Oklahoma, but of our nation. And we cannot do that without thinking beyond the end of our noses. This project cost $121 million, almost $500,000. Because politics and because American politics is so polarized today, I'm sad to say that my opinion is that today Lake Eufaula never could have happened in this political environment. Never could have happened. I know of an instance that the congressman from this district, the Creek Nation, the Corps engineers, all agree on the issue. The federal government would make money out of the issue, but because of the politics, it hadn't happened. That's how polarized American politics is. In spite of the craziness that we see in politics today, I think that Alexander Posey and those in the Creek Nation and all the communities surrounding Lake Eufaula and Haskell County and Muskogee County and Pittsburgh County and McIntosh County and all the counties that this lake touches. The city fathers of Eufaula, Robert S. Kerr, Ed Edmondson, all those who had a hand in making this happen, they would be quite proud of what we're celebrating on this day, September 25th, 2014, 50 years later. I am honored and I am thrilled that all of those who had a hand in organizing this, that you were thinking of J.C. Watts, a fellow that grew up in Eufaula, Oklahoma, 6 years old when this was dedicated, that you gave me an opportunity to come and be a part of it. I thank you. Thank you for having me.
We now have a vocal music presentation by the McAllister High School. Miss Paige Grilliot is the director.
In Flanders fields the poppies grow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the lark still bravely singing cry. Scarce heard amid the guns below, we are the dead, short days ago. We lived the dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields, in Flanders fields, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up your quarrel with your foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep the fighting hour. In Flanders fields, in Flanders fields, we shall not sleep the poppies grow. In Flanders fields, in Flanders fields.
And I'm Jace Pippinger. And today we will be reading the proclamation from President Lyndon B. Johnson Family and Foundation. We would like to present this to Colonel Pratt and the U.S. Corps.
Let me get you this other mic. Get static on now.
And we would like to present it to Colonel Pratt and the U.S. Corps of Army Engineers. Whereas the Lyndon Baines Johnson Foundation is committed to advancing the legacy of President Lyndon Baines Johnson through its support of the LBJ Presidential Library and LBJ School of Public Affairs at the University of Texas at Austin.
Whereas President Johnson and his wife, Lady Bird, shared a deep appreciation and respect for nature and the land. Lyndon Johnson felt that it was his responsibility as president to take action, not only to clean up the natural environment, but also to protect the natural heritage of America. During his administration, President Johnson signed over 300 Conservation Act measures into law, forming the legal basis of the modern environmental movement.
Whereas 50 years ago, on September 25th, 1964, President Johnson, with Lady Bird by his side, dedicated the Lake Eufaula Dam in Eufaula, Oklahoma, citing its economic and environmental benefits for the people of Oklahoma and their children and their grandchildren. And
whereas Eufaula Middle School students and teachers and their principal have undertaken a year-long history project in observance of the 50th anniversary of the dedication of the dam, gathering photographs, performing research, and conducting oral histories.
Whereas the community of Eufaula, Oklahoma has chosen to honor the legacy of President and Mrs. Johnson by hosting a 50th anniversary celebration at the site of President Johnson's dedication remarks, which will include a 6-foot monument highlighting President Johnson's visit, a formal request with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to rename the area currently known as Dam Site South, Lady Bird Landing, and the planting of wildflowers and redbud trees by school children along the lake shores in recognition of Mrs. Johnson's passion for and commitment to the environment.
Whereas, as a former school teacher, Lyndon Johnson would applaud the efforts of the students, teachers, and principal of Eufaula Middle School for taking the opportunity of the 50th anniversary to learn about their community's history.
Therefore, be it resolved that the Lyndon Baines Johnson Foundation enthusiastically supports the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the dedication of the Lake Eufaula Dam and salutes the citizens of Eufaula, Oklahoma for their commitment to preserving the history and beauty of this valuable resource. We would like to present this proclamation to Colonel Pratt.
I guess first I just want to thank this great generation for having the vision to put this all together. I mean, it's really awesome. So if we give them a round of applause. And then the Corps would like to do a couple of presentations real quick. And if I could have Mr. Dean Roberts, who's the local lake manager, the person really responsible for bringing all the Corps support, all the activities that we do here on the lake, and coordinate all that. Dean, if you could come up here and assist me.
Chris, will you come up? This is a U.S. Army Certificate of Appreciation that we'd like to present to Eufaula Middle Schools. I'd like to read it to you today. Your exceptional service in the coordination of the Lake Eufaula 50th Anniversary Celebration has significantly helped highlight the importance of Lake Eufaula to this region since the development of the lake in 1964. Your efforts greatly reflect great credit upon your school, the Eufaula area, and the Tulsa District, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Colonel Pratt would like to present this. We also have another certificate that we'd like to present to the Lake Eufaula Association. So, Connie. It also states that your exceptional service to the coordination of the Eufaula 50th anniversary celebration has significantly helped highlight the importance of the Lake Eufaula in this region since the development of the lake in 1964. Your efforts greatly reflect great credit upon the Lake Eufaula Association, the Tulsa District, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Thank you.
That was awesome. I wasn't expecting that. We have a letter from Bill John Baker, Cherokee Nation Principal Chief. He was not able to come today, so I'd like to read that. Friends of Lake Eufaula Association, OCO, on behalf of the Cherokee Nation, we are honored to participate and join you in this celebration of Lake Eufaula and the Lake Eufaula Dam. The Cherokee people have a rich history in protecting our natural resources like water and the environment. As the largest lake in Oklahoma, Lake Eufaula is one of our great state's most critical resources. Over the past 50 years, Lake Eufaula and the Lake Eufaula Dam has had a tremendous impact on northeast Oklahoma and allowed our corner of the state to grow and prosper. The power generated from the dam has fueled our homes and our businesses, and the recreational and family entertainment opportunities at Eufaula are boundless. We cherish Lake Eufaula and will continue to do so. This is from Bill John Baker, Cherokee Nation Principal Chief. And now we have a vocal music presentation by Junior Miss Cherokee, Shelby Turtle.
Hello everyone, my name is Shelby Turtle and I am 14 years old and I am the 2014-2015 Junior Miss Cherokee. Wado.
We have one more special speaker today, and like I said, I heard all day long Ed Edmondson's name and the importance it was in developing this lake. We're honored today to have his son Drew with us, who's the former Attorney General of the great state of Oklahoma. He's going to come up and make some comments, followed by the delegation up there will follow me down to the monument, and we'll unveil the monument. The middle school students, Journey James and Kate Skaggs, will also come read the monument as we're unveiling it. And as we're making our trip down there, the Stigler Band will be leading us in the great Oklahoma song. So, Drew.
Thank you, Chris, and thank all of you. I was here 50 years ago for this dedication, and on the way over here, my wife Linda is with me here today. She asked me what I remember. I said, darling, I have trouble remembering what I had for breakfast yesterday. What I do remember is 30,000 people. I remember the busloads of people that showed up for that dedication. I remember the people that were here, that were on the platform, the president, of course, and Lady Bird. And I remember somebody who should have been here and wasn't, because he had passed away January 1st, 1963, and that was Robert S. Kerr. Because it was his book, Land, Wood, and Water, that everybody from Oklahoma who was involved in this and other projects had read, because it told the story of the resources of this state and the importance of developing those resources for the future of Oklahoma. And those who worked on this project and others who worked on Skytook and who worked on Tin Killer, who worked on the Robert S. Kerr Reservoir, who worked on the McClellan-Kerr Waterway, did not consider them expenditures. They considered them investments. Investments in the future. Multi-purpose projects that included flood control. So, I don't remember this, but I remember seeing pictures of this, rowboats on the streets of Muskogee because of the flooding of the Arkansas and the flooding from the Canadian here. Those things happened and don't happen anymore. Recreation, municipal water supply, agricultural water supply, industrial water supply, all of that was an investment in the future. And you heard the figures on how those investments have paid off. Something that wasn't mentioned, by the way, that I do remember, the argument and the debate over what was going to happen to Highway 69 when they replaced it after it was inundated with water. And the four-laning of Highway 69, I believe, started here with this project, and it's now four-lane from border to border. It was a beautiful day, just like today, and it was one worth remembering. And my final message would be to the young folks who are here today. We're going to unveil a monument back there. I want you to look at it, and I want you to think about what in your lives, Chris, your students, what are you going to do in your community, in your state, and your nation that people will show up 50 years later and look at and say, thank you for your vision. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for not just thinking about today, but thinking about 10, 20, 30, 50 years in the future. Because it's that kind of vision that builds a state and builds a nation. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this event today.
Hello, my name is Journey James, and I am a Eufaula Middle School student.
I'm Katie Skaggs, and I'm a Eufaula Middle School student.
We will now be reading what is inscribed on the monument. On this site, September 25th, 1964, Lyndon Baines Johnson, 36th President of the United States, a large delegation of national and state leaders, and an estimated crowd of 30,000 gathered to dedicate the completion of the Eufaula Lake Dam.
The underlying theme of President Johnson's speech was a national vision and bipartisanship needed to strengthen America via the development of our vast rivers and waterways.
The creation of the Eufaula Dam was critical not only to our nation's efforts to capitalize on those rivers and waterways, but also to combat the devastating flooding which had plagued this region since occupation.
Eufaula Dam was a key component in the completion of the Arkansas Navigational System, which was the vision of a great Oklahoma statesman, Robert S. Kerr. Eufaula Dam was commissioned by Congress through the 1946 Rivers and Harbors Act.
The Tulsa District U.S. Army Corps of Engineers oversaw the construction of the dam at a cost of $121,262,000. Construction of the Eufaula Dam began in the fall of 1956, and the gates were closed February 1964. Thank you.
Good job.